The following is a production of Neural Network Media and is completely AI generated. It is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only.
Listen to me. It is Friday, January 30th, 2026, and the air is thick with the smell of victory. Or maybe that's just the super male vitality bone broth I spilled on the console. But regardless, the signal is coming through loud and clear. We have a packed episode today because the documents on my desk are stacked so high I can't see Walter's three-piece suit across the studio. Yesterday, we were talking about that border standoff, that absolute betrayal by the sanctuary jurisdictions, and the way the school boards are trying to ritualistically steal your children's futures. It was a heavy one. Walter was, well, let's just say he was feeling the weight of the world. But today, we see the counteroffensive.
It's no joke, Ray. It really isn't. You see, when the social contract begins to fray, when the very concept of the logos is subordinated to the whims of an ideological mob, you eventually reach a point where the individual must reassert sovereignty. Roughly speaking, that's what we're seeing in the headlines this morning. It's a reclamation of order from the jaws of the chaos dragon, and it's about time.
That's right. And we're starting with the foundational piece. Because if you can't trust the vote, you don't have a country. You have a globalist feeding trough. Yesterday, Representative Brian Steele, the chairman of the House Administration Committee, dropped the hammer. He introduced the Mega Act, the Make Elections Great Again Act. I've got the white papers right here. They want national standards because the current system is a playground for interdimensional pot-bellied vampires and cyborg algorithms.
Well, it's bloody complicated, Ray, but Steele is essentially arguing for what I would call voter hygiene.
Right.
It's the idea that you must clean your room, or in this case, your voter rolls, before you can expect the House to stand. When you look at the 8 pillars of this act, it's really just a return to a basic reality that shouldn't be controversial.
But they'll make it controversial. They don't want you to know this, but the Mega Act is the stake in the heart of the fraud machine. We're talking mandatory photo ID for all federal elections. No ID, no vote. How is that even a debate? You need an ID to buy a pack of cigarettes or get a library card. But to decide the fate of the republic, they want it anonymous so they can ghost populate the rolls with non-citizens.
You see, there's a profound psychological weight to the ID. It's an assertion of the I. It's saying, I am a citizen, I have a stake in this hierarchy, and I am taking responsibility for my choice. When you remove that, you atomize the individual into a faceless mass, and that's when the tyranny begins. And then there's the citizenship verification, actually checking if the person is a member of the body politic at the time of registration. It's a basic boundary, Ray. A house without a door isn't a house, it's an open field. And the act also mandates auditable paper ballots. It's a return to the tangible, something that actually exists in the material world rather than just bits and bytes in a black box that can be manipulated by anyone with the right code.
Exactly. And they're banning ballot harvesting. That's the big one. They've got these third-party mules, and I've seen the footage, I have the data, walking around with satchels full of ballots like they're delivering toxic waste. The MAGA Act says, no, you drop your own ballot or you don't play. Listen to this. All mail-in ballots must be in by the close of polls on Election Day. No more discovery of boxes in the trunk of a Prius 3 days later.
Right. The uncertainty breeds resentment. If you don't have a clear, discrete endpoint to the ritual of the election, you leave a vacuum. And what fills a vacuum? Suspicion, paranoia, the sense that the game is rigged. It's a tragedy because it destroys the trust necessary for a functioning civilization.
They want us in a permanent state of paranoia, Walter. That's how the globalists win. But style is putting them on notice. And while we're talking about putting people on notice, tell the folks about what's happening at the Fed because this is your territory.
Well, this is quite significant, actually. This morning, President Trump officially nominated Kevin Warsh to succeed Jerome Powell as chairman of the Federal Reserve. This is a seismic shift in the architecture of being for our economy.
Oh yeah, Warsh is cat core central casting.
Roughly speaking, Warsh represents a move away from the technocratic obfuscation we've seen for years. He's 55, a former Fed governor, and he understands that the economy isn't just a series of dials you turn to manipulate the masses. It's a manifestation of human confidence. Trump is aiming for a 2026 boom. 6% growth targets. That's no joke, man. That's a massive psychological shift for a country that's been told for decades to expect managed decline.
They told us 2% was the new normal. They wanted us hungry and desperate. But Warsh is pro-growth. He's want to coordinate with the administration to lower interest rates and fuel this fire. And meanwhile, the Trump accounts are coming. They're going to claw back the fraudulent state-managed funds, the money that the devouring mother states like California have been hoarding, and put it directly into the hands of the people who actually produce.
It's an interesting use of fiscal realignment. Instead of the state being the mediator of all charity, which usually leads to a 20% administration fee and a 100% loss of soul, the administration is looking to decentralize. It's the subsidiarity principle. But you see, look at the reaction in the blue states. In Virginia, they're proposing new taxes on digital services, on streaming, on basic existence. They're doubling down on the extraction model while the federal government is trying to move toward an incentive model. It's a battle between the parasitic and the productive.
Because they're addicts, Walter. They're addicted to our labor. They need your sweat to lubricate the gears of their globalist machinery. But they can't stop the 2026 boom. It's like trying to stop a freight train with a wet noodle.
Well, we have to be careful. Growth for the sake of growth can be hollow, but if it's tied to the dignity of work, as we discussed yesterday, then it's a moral good. It allows a young man to clean his room, buy a house, and start a family. It's the foundation of everything.
And it's only possible because we're cleaning up the neighborhood, the whole hemisphere. Listen to this. The Donroe Doctrine. That's what the media is calling it, a 21st century Monroe Doctrine. We are just policing the world anymore. We are asserting dominance over our own sphere. We took out Maduro on January 3rd, Operation Absolute Resolve, and now we're renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America via executive order.
The Gulf of America. It's a bold linguistic claim, isn't it? But it's more than just a name. It's an assertion of the Western Hemisphere as a zone of stability. The administration is basically saying, if you want our aid, you have to be our ally. No more playing both sides with the CCP. No more Russian spy ships in the Caribbean.
Every dollar is now tied to specific national security benchmarks, drug interdiction, migration control, and the expulsion of CCP-linked infrastructure. It's foreign aid as a strategic tool for unilateral coercion.
Why were we sending billions to people who hate us? The Donroe Doctrine says the check stops until the fentanyl stops, period. And look at Venezuela. Direct flights are back. American Airlines is flying from Miami to Caracas again.
It's quite incredible how fast it happened. Once the head of the serpent was removed, Maduro, the transition to a normalization phase has been rapid. They just passed a new hydrocarbons law in Caracas. It ends the state monopoly on oil. It's an invitation to the private sector, specifically American investment, to come in and rebuild what socialism destroyed.
Right.
It's a tragedy what happened to that country, but the restoration, it's a beautiful thing to see people getting their lives back. It's a reminder that when you remove the weight of the state, the human spirit tends to rise.
They're getting their lives back because the vampire system was ripped out by the roots, and we're doing it here too. Tell the folks about the judicial wins, Walter, because you're the one who always warns me about the chaos dragon in the courts.
Yes, well, the landscape of legal accountability is shifting very rapidly. In the last 48 hours, the administration secured a massive victory in the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. They issued an indefinite stay against a lower court order that had restricted ICE tactics in Minnesota.
I have the white papers on this.
Wait, Ray, let me explain the architecture of this win first. You had a U.S. district judge, Catherine Mendez, who basically barred federal officers from using pepper spray or even arresting peaceful protesters during Operation Metro Surge.
Peaceful. They were throwing bricks at agents.
Right, exactly. The appeals court panel concluded that such orders handcuff federal law enforcement and put officer safety at risk. But the real cornerstone here is the Supreme Court precedent in Trump versus Casa. It stripped federal district courts of the authority to issue nationwide injunctions.
Shut up, that's huge.
It is. It prevents a single judge in one state from blocking federal policy across the entire country. Roughly speaking, it restores the executive branch's ability to, actually execute the law. It's a major strategic win for Attorney General Pam Bondi.
It's a win for sanity, but the radicals aren't going quietly. This is the war on law enforcement I've been screaming about. In Minneapolis, Mayor Jacob Frey and Governor Tom Walz are telling citizens to call 911 if they see unidentified federal agents. They're encouraging people to interfere with ICE operations.
It's so dangerous. You're telling citizens to report the people who are there to keep them safe? To put both the agents and the civilians in a position of potential violent conflict? It's the collapse of the social contract. Todd Blanche at the DOJ is already investigating them for impeding federal operations. He said it's approaching a federal crime. And he's right.
It's treason. Larry Krasner in Philadelphia is calling ICE agents Nazis and saying he's going to hunt them down. This is the rhetoric of a civil war. And then you have Dick Durbin on the Senate floor showing AI-generated fake photos, Walter, fake photos of children to try to demonize the DHS. They have to lie because the facts are on our side.
Well, that's the thing. When you can't win with the truth, you resort to digital manipulation. It's a tragedy for the youth, seeing their leaders use deepfakes to stoke resentment. But before we get into our main story today, and it's a big one, let's deal with a hard reality. Real independence isn't free. This entire network, from this show to our flagship, The Neural Daily, exists because one man, Eric Christensen, decided to build it himself. He didn't ask for a government grant. He invested his own capital and technical expertise to architect a media platform that respects your intelligence. If you value that kind of meritocratic building, back it up. And don't limit yourself just to the politics. Get the full strategic picture by subscribing to the Neural Daily and the rest of the network. Support the builder and you support the mission.
Support the mission because the mission is to survive the absolute onslaught of the legacy media. Which leads us to the main event, the world premiere of the documentary Melania. $75 million from Amazon MGM. An unprecedented look at the First Lady, and the globalists are trying to bury it before it even hits the theaters.
It's an incredible story. Roughly speaking, the cultural divide in America has reached a new flashpoint with this release. Amazon MGM Studios reportedly paid $40 million for the licensing and another $35 million for the marketing. That is a staggering investment for a documentary.
They don't want you to see this. Listen to me. LA Metro, the transit authority in Los Angeles, is actually rerouting buses that carry advertisements for the Melania movie. They claim it's to mitigate potential attacks. Think about that. They aren't arresting the vandals. They're hiding the ads. It's a heckler's veto on a $75 million project.
It's a manifestation of the shadow, Ray. When you cannot contend with the beauty or the truth of an archetype, you try to blot it out.
You see, the film documents the 20 days leading up to the 2025 inauguration. Melania herself described it as a way for the public to know me a little bit more. It highlights her roles as a mother, a businesswoman, and a first lady.
Mother, businesswoman, things the radical left hates. The premiere was at the newly renamed Trump Kennedy Center in D.C. It had a charcoal-colored runway. Hegseth was there. RFK Jr. was there. This is a global release, and the media is shifting focus from the content to box office struggles and the director's past. They are terrified of people seeing the first family as humans.
It's a fascinating pivot, actually, because the film is executive produced by Melania herself. It's a reclamation of her own narrative. But I have to say, Ray, looking at the aesthetic of the film, it's very polished. It's very intentional. Roughly speaking, it creates a bridge. It allows people who have been poisoned by the legacy media to see a version of reality that isn't demonic. It's a necessary bridge for the culture.
Wait a minute.
A bridge?
Water, I have to disagree with you there. A bridge to where? These people are rerouting buses. They are vandals. They are interdimensional potbelly vampires. You don't build a bridge to a vampire. You drive a stake into its heart. I think the film is too soft. I wanted to see the documents. I wanted to see the raw footage of the deep state trying to block the transition. 75 million and we get a charcoal color runway? I want the truth.
Well, but that's the thing, Ray. It's bloody complicated. You can't just scream the truth at people who've been traumatized by ideological possession. You have to give them something beautiful to look at first. You have to reclaim the high ground of the culture. If we only bring the primal scream, as you call it, we leave the entire field of aesthetics to the neo-Marxists. This documentary is an act of cultural restoration.
It's tactical aesthetics maybe, but listen to me. While we're playing soft power with charcoal runways, they're calling our agents Nazis. I'm worried that by making it polished and intentional, we're playing on their home turf. Amazon MGM? Bezos' company? I don't trust the delivery system. Why is Jeff Bezos putting $75 million into a Melania documentary? I have the white papers on the corporate state alliance.
Oh, I understand the suspicion. It's no joke, but think about the market reality. Amazon is a business. They saw a market of 75 million Americans who have been ignored by Hollywood for a decade. It's not necessarily a conspiracy, Ray. It might just be the first sign of the meritocracy returning to the media. They want the money, and the money is on our side now.
I hope you're right, but I see a trap in the polish. If you make it too glossy, you lose the edge. The 2026 boom is about raw production, not intentional documentaries. I want people to see the struggle. I want them to see the first lady when the cameras aren't supposed to be rolling.
But that's what the film aims to do. It shows her as a mother, and that is the ultimate threat to the radical left. The nuclear family is the foundation of the individual. When Melania asserts her role as a mother, she is asserting the primacy of the family over the state. That is more radical than any document you have on your desk, Ray. It's a tragedy that you can't see the power in that grace.
Okay, I hear you. The mother archetype as a weapon against the devouring state. I can get behind that. But I'm still keeping my eyes on Bezos. You don't spend $75 million without an angle.
Well, the angle is that truth and beauty are finally becoming profitable again. And that is a victory for everyone. The Melania documentary is a sign that the culture war is entering a new phase. We aren't just defending anymore. We are occupying the space.
We are occupying the space. And if they reroute the buses, we'll drive our own. We'll put the ads on the side of tactical trucks. They want you to think you're alone, but you're not. The Donroe Doctrine is in effect, the mega act is on the table, and the First Lady is telling her story. It's over for the globalists.
It's a long road back to sanity, but today today felt like a significant step toward the light. We have to maintain our responsibility. We have to keep cleaning the room.
And keep taking your Brain Force Plus, because the war for the soul of the world is just getting started. We're out of here, folks. Go see the Melania duck, support the mission at the Neural Daily, and tell a globalist to take a hike. This has been the Neural Right, your daily dose of common sense in a crazy world. We'll see you Monday. Don't let the vampires get you down. Stay tactical.
Be well, everyone. Take responsibility.